So, joined by Steve Brown, Mad, 12th of the 12th, 2020. Talk about that. What a night.
Yeah, it was fantastic, wasn't it? Obviously, we had a bit of a hiccup at the start, but after that, we made some decent ground. And no, overall, to talk to the sponsors and the players and everyone involved in it, we're all very, very happy. So, yeah, success.
Obviously, I was quite gripped by the matches last night, but it was a whole day. I mean, it literally, you managed to gather some of the best players in the world to play, put an event on, had the media involved and everything on launch day, where as a chairman, you could have just sat in a chair or just done an interview like today and launched it. You always go that extra mile, Steve.
Well, that's not our style, is it? You might be able to hear they're sort of dismantling all the equipment from last night in there. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that wouldn't be our style, would it? You know, we're not in this to maintain the status quo, are we? We're in this to shake things up a little bit and make things a lot more interesting. So last night proved that. From just obviously logistically, it was a really difficult event to put on. Obviously with COVID around and adhering to regulation from local authorities and stuff. But we got there in the end. We've done it. Everyone was safe, looked after, well fed, and yeah, I think everyone had a really good time.
So some huge viewing figures. You've opened up membership yesterday. You've launched your champions yesterday. I think what might be interesting is that last night, and particularly the evening, it wasn't just Mad is about having a belt and a world champion and stuff. There's four key elements to this, isn't there? That I think people got a little bit distracted by how good the show was. So I mean, I've got the league affiliation system, open events, showpiece events, championship title program. There's so much for amateur dart players now. Yeah,
obviously that's like we highlighted the very top end of Mad and what we're about. And obviously, traditionally moving forward, that would be played in a studio setting. That would be in a big crowd somewhere. Obviously, these belts will take their own path after COVID's over. So these guys will be defending their Scottish belt in Scotland and Welsh and Wales, etc. So yeah, for us, putting it together was a blend, I suppose, of everyone coming together. But we got there in the end. Like I said, is for us, that was the very elite what we've seen last night. But more, we go right down to the very, very core, underneath what any other organisation's looking after, and that's the pub players. So again, what we've seen last night was the top end. A lot of focus was on the titles last night. Obviously, we'll go into that in a minute. But we've got we're about so much more than just the titles.
Yeah. So how many were up for grabs last night? I think we got Europeans and there was worlds and all sorts of things.
There was 5 last night.
Setting like stepping stones ready for people to come in and start to challenge.
Yeah, so we had to start somewhere. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We were keen to get some on in 2020. Nobody else has been able to do that. So for us, it was important we've done that. We made a splash. People were talking about us last night, so that's we've done our job. People are talking about amateur darts. So yeah, last night we started with 5 titles. That was the World's, the European, the national titles. So yeah, for us, all the players that are involved really, really enjoyed it. Feedback this morning has been fantastic. Yeah, we've made a few mistakes. Yeah, we're going to. It's life, isn't it? We're human beings, but we'll learn from those and we'll move on. But yeah, for these titles, I said there's a real pathway, and you can achieve world championship status from playing in a local event. That's the most important thing to get over.
You talk about making mistakes. I mean, surely one of the biggest mistakes that other people have made is they haven't done anything. You have now just put the amateur game on the map, and that picture behind you, the expression on that man's face to actually get something out of 2020 when everybody else, there's a few exceptions, have done absolutely nothing. One man has created all this is phenomenal, Steve, and congratulations to you on that.
Well, no, yeah, I set my stall out and I set myself targets and I want to hit them. And with the team I've got around me, and you yourself included, then these ambitious targets get met. And this is a big ambitious event yesterday, and we pulled it off. Some people might like it. Well, a lot of people liked it. A few showed their dislike on social media, but we didn't worry about them. They're trolls and they've got agendas of their own. But for us, it was a very successful event, and we've saved way more as Christmas.
The joy on the man's face was incredible. In fact, all of the players yesterday seemed generally just excited to have some on, which is what I was trying to get at before, is that other organisations haven't risked or tried or pushed the boundaries. It looks like Mad is really going to push those boundaries and almost make the amateur game famous.
Yeah, well, yeah, professional, entertaining is a big one for us as well, but also accessible. And whether you like it or not, there are still barriers to entry. to qualify for these other tournaments, even Q scores would cost a lot of money. If you want to be in a WDF World Championships, you're going to have to go to Slovakia, Slovenia to tick your boxes or your points. So there is barriers to entry at all levels.
Yeah.
This genuinely for £5, you can go to a local tournament, be a MAD member, and work your way up the ladder, up the pyramid. So again, it is accessible. The more people read into what we've come up with, we haven't thought this overnight. The more people take the time and do a bit, just be a bit more diligent on before you make a comment. But yeah, we have done hard work, and it's all on the website to see.
Yeah. Extraordinary. So let quickly then just touch on. So I believe you've got Stefan Everard with you as well. So we'll perhaps come and have a chat with Stefan in a second regarding sort of how the sort of league stuff works and the open events. But the championship title program. So not that I would, but if I wanted to challenge Wayne Warren for the World Championships, how's that sort of going to go about in the future? Then is it once a year, once a month? How does that happen?
I'll start by saying, so how we put these champions in place, and bear in mind, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so we have to have a starting ground from somewhere. Yeah. So obviously Wayne was the natural choice to be the world champion because he's the current BDO champion. He's not going to get a chance to defend that title, so naturally he was the number one shot for that. And coming down the pecking order, the second highest ranked sort of BDO event would be the World Masters, which is one of the oldest tournaments in the world, and John O'Shea was the champion of that. So naturally he fitted into our second highest European Championship champion. Going from there, so we need our national champions. So we looked across the board, and the fairest way of doing that, probably because we have a pandemic, is to go to WDF rankings. So we picked Jim Williams, who was the number one Welsh player. Paul Hogan was number one English player. Ross Montgomery was offered but couldn't make it. He was delighted he accepted. He couldn't make it at the last minute to become the Scottish. So then there was a vacant title. So we looked at who was available, and based on their ability, we put forward a challenge match for the vacant title, which Gary Sting played fantastic, by the way, performance of the night. So Gary is now the Scottish champion. So that's how we got our national champions. Then we come down to the last sort of rung of the ladder, if you like, but a springboard for most people, which is the regional champions. So from the regional champions, we've got. So how we set to that is not everyone does a WDF circuit.
No.
But a lot of people, especially in the UK, play the Challenge Tour. So what we've done, so with the highest ranked Challenge Tour player in each of those regions, were offered an honorary champion status. So that's how we selected them. There's a few exceptions because they declined or they couldn't had other commitments. So I think Keenan Case stepped in down in Devon region, the Knights region. Yeah. There's another off the top of my head. So there's these champions put in place on merit, not just because we think they're nice guys and we're going to put them in.
Well, you'd be foolish not to pick the best because you want to sort of kick off with the best players, don't you? That have achieved that status. So,
and the beauty of this, Darren, sorry to interrupt you, but the beauty of this is anybody who wants to moan about that, then if they fancy their chances, they think they're a better player, then just put your money where your mouth is and offer these guys a game. If you get the title, you can earn yourself a nice living for the next 6-12 months. So if you're going to moan about it, just put your money where your mouth is or don't comment. Simple as that.
I just find it extraordinary that I represent obviously the junior side of things, and just to put that into perspective, all very excited about this because it's somewhere else to go. The Professional Darts Corporation have made a living out of making things entertaining. I mean, that surely is what people like to see. So you've offered not only a structure for the amateurs to play and to thrive, etc. Then there's this entertaining factor at the end. It just boxes it all off, and God, that's been missing in it for years.
Well, you've got to remember as well for this, I mean, in every town, in every city, there's always that guy that people say, oh, you should do it, you should go to Q school, you should do that. There's enough local successful business people within their communities to put forward a challenge for them. And yeah, it is sort of incentivized by money, but that's the world we live in nowadays.
Sponsorship is money.
Yeah, exactly. But so I mean, putting title bids together, with a small consortium, a local business fund, isn't going to be too difficult for the players. So it's not out of reach. I said, if you want to go to Q school, it's going to cost you between 500 and £1,000 anyway. So this is the lowest level, an easy opportunity to get into it. And not only that, the most credible bids will win. We're not going to. It's not the highest bid. It's going to be as a committee of conscientious people like myself. We will look at those bids, look at the criteria, look at what the players have won recently, and we only want the best players playing the best players. So it's not. Although anybody can bid, and you might be lucky one day that you might be chosen. But as I said, there is a credibility criteria. And also, there's a mandatory criteria as well. So right down to the local events for the super regional titles. So any event in the UK can align themselves with mad ranking points. And the best thing is it doesn't cost a penny. We're not charging any. People keep saying it's a money-making scheme. It's not. It's about amateur darts and creating a buzz about it. So we don't charge anybody anybody wants to put mad points on their events. We don't charge them a single penny. Wow. If you'll be a mad member, it's only £5 for the whole year. And that's your leagues, your tournaments, your title bids, all involved. So, come on, give me a break. It's not about us earning the fortune out of the players. It's about us providing value for money and making as little barriers to entry as possible. So every event that's run locally can apply for mad points. The local players will accrue points based on their performance at these local events, and that's how they will get a mandatory shot at Super Regional Champion. So you can't be fairer than that.
And I've got to say this because it's just constantly been like, you are not a new BDO or a WDO. You are a completely separate thing.
Who wants that job?
Well, exactly. This is just nothing to do with that at all. It's just a completely different way of being able to showcase your ability with your mates down that pub, with your family or whatever. And if you have got something special, there's a bit of a way you can make a bit of a name for yourself. And as you said, don't have to go and spend all that money at Q School if you can't afford it. You've got a local ladder almost.
And with this, you can, when the time is right for you as an individual, you place your bid. So January, people might come out with the flu or whatever. The time might not be right. Could be an illness in the family, whatever. But with this, you time your bid when it suits you, when you're on top of your game, when you're financially settled. It is all for the players, and we put a lot of thought into this. It's not something we just dreamt up overnight.
That's a very good point, Mr. Brown, because you've got 96 players or so trying to all be good for a week or so at Christmas, when actually you've I've won a tour card, I've lost a tour card, I've got through Q School, I've played in 7 World Championships. Every level of the game. I still play amateur darts now in the pubs every Monday. So I'm very familiar with the setup from start to finish. What it's like to lose a tour card, to gain one, to lose on a Monday night, to play with one arm. I've done that. I know I've been through all the emotions. So I think I'm well placed to have an opinion on how I think darts should be played in the future. Now, going back to yesterday, what a team you had. We had old Paul Nicholson. We got all sorts going on. Mr. Mason on the commentary. You must have so many people. I think I even saw Phil Taylor tweeting this morning. What? Yeah. You've obviously got a good team around. So it's not just Steve, obviously, but you've got some good sponsors involved as well.
Obviously yesterday we had a very limited amount of time to put across what we're all about. And obviously a lot of that was focused on the titles. Obviously we don't have time to do too in depth on that, which we had a bit of criticism about. But over the next couple of weeks, people will read up on it and they'll understand. I spoke to Kevin Painter this morning, and Kev's always he's always value for money on the phone, Kev. But he said, "What's all this about?" And so I put him straight. So I told him exactly how it starts, start to finish. And as I was going through it, he's going, "Yeah, I get it. Oh, it's brilliant." And by the end of the conversation, he couldn't have been any more singing our praises. So, and I think he tweeted as well afterwards. So I spoke to Scott Mitchell this morning. I spoke to all the guys today, and they're all absolutely buzzing. And I can't, looking forward to the future.
You've woken up the amateur game, Steve. Simple as that. I think it's now awake from being asleep. And surely that's the greatest thing that yesterday could have done.
And importantly as well, obviously we are an amateur body. There are others. And also, but I think what's important to stay here is that we built this system, this structure to not cause too much disruption to the market. So although we want to be the best at what we do, we've done it in a way that we're not competing with a world championship at the end of the year of WDF, or we're not doing a Super League system or a county system. We've sort of complemented everybody's best bits, and we've just fit in between and come up with what I think is a winning formula. Yeah.
Well, what a way to start. And we've actually seen some darts being thrown. But just before we go then, so people to get involved, there's obviously a website somewhere I can get involved, sign myself up and then get ready for 2021 and the journey will start.
Yeah, obviously from now, there's you can sign up today, maddarts.tv. You go there, sign up, you'll get for the rest of this year and next year. It's £5, literally price of a pint. But for what you're going to get from that next year, especially when all the pubs are reopening and the events are going on, league, it's £5, one size fits all. And that's your 12-month membership, and there's going to be discount codes from Winmore, Red Dragon. There's so many benefits, but go on the website and have a look.
Brilliant, Steve. I'm sure you're dying to perhaps have a sit down and a cup of tea. But
I think the lady is calling me from the events company. I think I'm going up and dismantle some stuff. But yeah, I'll
still at the venue, and it's like midday on a Sunday, and it's still there.
Yeah.
Maddie, Steve, great. It was thoroughly entertaining and just wonderful. Can't wait for 2021.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it.
Take care.